It's just strange. The
Yeah.
fact that as a human, we have a massive tendency to want A and do L. Like we just all do that.
Yes, 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 yes. So it's so interesting that you would say that because that also is a big sort of underlying theater theme. That was one of the things that I first learned as a baby actor was that the intention is not necessarily in the words. And so that's been a key teaching, when we run through courses and whatever, is that and we that's where a lot of the exercises come in, is to illuminate the fact for people that nonverbal communication is the primary form of communication, whether we know it or not. I mean, words are our vehicle for facts, but it's not where human information is derived. It's all the nonverbal.
Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right, we are live. So welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast that we're also live streaming and may or may not happen due to my inability to figure out my technology, which is not a new situation.
No.
Not a
Yeah,
new situation.
it's love-hate relationship for
Love-hate
sure.
relationship. That's so funny because I just did a Facebook post. I'll tell you about that in a minute, and that'll be a great way to start the conversation. So I'm excited today. LB Adams is here, and we've had great conversations when we weren't live and recording.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people will appreciate what we're going to have while we're recording. Your company is Practical Dramatics, which I
Yes.
love. Great name. Good job. So before we get into it, why don't you give people a little more formal introduction of who you are and what it
Sure.
is that you do?
Okay. So again, my name is LB Adams. I'm the founder of Practical Dramatics, which is a soft skills and communication training company that is rooted in theater strategies. And so what that means is very engaged, interactive, and fun learning events. Like who the hell wants boring PowerPoint?
Right.
I mean,
No, we don't want boring PowerPoint. I'm really, and I'm sort of kind of like I won't say a bad person to talk to about this because one, I totally agree. I do not like boring PowerPoint.
right, right.
And once I'm involved, I do enjoy the games, role playing, interesting
Yes,
ways to
yes.
learn. But I'm a bit of a negative Nancy when it gets announced that that's what we're going to be doing. Is it, and yet knowing that I'm
Oh,
going to enjoy it.
yes, I totally understand that. I totally get that. I know that some people like they clench, everything clenches, as soon as they hear interactive or theater, they fully anticipate that I'm going to ask them to stand up and recite Hamlet or
See,
something.
I
And
could
that's
do that part. I have no problem. Like I have no problem being in front of I don't know. Maybe it's the organized fashion of it. I don't want,
okay.
right? Maybe
Okay.
it's the rule following that I have a problem with. I don't know. Because once
That's
we get going,
interesting.
I always have so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just about role playing, but it's the way that we teach communication skills as a whole. So it's the platform.
Mhm.
It's about public speaking and how you speak and how you present and how you offer an audience, regardless of size, your best authentic self. All
Yeah.
of that is rooted in all of the things that I learned, as an actor. So that's why the platform, we call it, theater strategies, because it's all right there.
Well, and I think that's very true. Like, and I don't have any theater training outside of my stepbrother sharing years ago. He's very involved or was very involved in Second City and improv.
Oh,
He
awesome.
teaches improv internationally.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's been a while, but we've been related a while. But I do remember watching him previously and learning about that. And some of the tools that they use to teach improv and theater, it just gets you out of your own way more than anything else.
Yes, yes. That you nailed it. Like that's the crux of all of it is that we use these tools and these strategies to sort of like break you down, I mean, in the best
In the
possible
best
way. We have to crack the shells of society. We have to crack the shells of what you think you should be and all of this stuff to kind of get to the juicy center. And the juicy center is where all of the good stuff is.
Well, because that's how we connect, right? That's how humans connect. Humans
Yeah.
connect through communication.
Right, right.
And so
Conversations, communication is everything. So, like, I know that some people will say, "Well, communication is really important," or communication is really key. But like, we believe at Practical Dramatics, communication is everything. Like,
I
it's
absolutely
everything.
agree. Because I will tell you, so I have a degree in journalism, and one of the best compliments, something that I've been compliment that I had in my life been most proud of receiving was when I went for my MBA, and the communications facilitator, the instructor, who was like a director of marketing, I went for what they call like an executive MBA, where it was all other executives teaching. I was
Oh,
older
that
by
sounds
then.
really
Yeah, it was really
interesting.
cool. Oh yeah, our CFO was the CFO of Quaker Oats in charge of Snapple. Like, it was really interesting. But the
Wow.
compliment that he gave me was that I was able to communicate with intent. And that phrase always stuck with me. And I think as business
Yes.
owners, one of the things that I say is communication only has one purpose. Every single type of communication only has one purpose, and that's to invite a person to take one more step with you. Right?
Right.
That's what it's
Right.
for. It's to invite someone to take one more step with you.
Mhm.
And so the ability to communicate with intent.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. One of the things that we teach, in our communication basics modules is, the infrastructure is like, as you were saying, what is your impetus for speaking? Why are you speaking? What is driving you to speak? And essentially, there are only three things. It's to survive, to thrive, or to create change. Like every single conversation you ever have or will have fits into one of those buckets. As you said, to survive, to thrive, to create change, all deserve and derive from intention. What do you want?
What do you want? And, I make my clients crazy because every time we talk about anything that they're trying to do and they can't figure out what to do, I always go back to, well, what do you want? Which most
Right.
people don't stop and think about what they want.
And
So
that's a hard question too.
it's a brutally hard question. It's a brutally hard question. All the empathy in the world for that question, but it's imperative, right? If we don't know what to do until we figure out what we want.
Right. Right. And so often we run around and we say words and we do actions that are unrelated to the things that we want or the things that we need. And you know, it's a distillation process. When you understand all of those things and how they're connected, it's a distillation process.
And it's strange. It's just, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's just strange. The
Yeah.
fact that as a human, we have a massive tendency to want A and do L. Like, we just all do that.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. So it's so interesting that you would say that because that also is a big sort of underlying theater theme. That was one of the things that I first learned as a baby actor was that the intention is not necessarily in the words. And so that's been a key teaching, when we run through courses and whatever is that that's where a lot of the exercises come in is to illuminate the fact for people that nonverbal communication is the primary form of communication, whether we know it or not. I mean, words are our vehicle for facts, but it's not where human information is derived. It's all the nonverbal.
It's so true. And so I love how you say that because when I coach in my group coaching program, I like to see everybody because I can tell by looking at them if they're understanding me or not. But what was
Yeah.
interesting is I read somewhere probably in the last couple of years, because we've all been on Zoom more than ever, and for a while
Yeah,
exclusively,
it's true.
that the minuscule delay in Zoom causes the brain to think something's wrong. And it's
Yes.
instantaneous. It's not, I'm
Yes.
not talking about the time when your
Yes.
internet goes in and out. We're not but when everything's working well, the mirror, right? Because you're not, sometimes depending on settings, you're seeing people backwards. And then,
Right.
and that instantaneous delay, especially like sometimes the sound doesn't match the visuals. Like you can't watch,
Yes.
it's
Right,
crazy.
right. Right. And then or there's an overlap. Like you'll say something and I'm responding, but you're still talking because of that delay. And then I've missed what you said. And it becomes kind of a whole cluster. Yeah. I don't know that Zoom has done us a huge amount of favors other than keeping us connected in some way. But it certainly alienated us in other ways.
Yeah. I mean, right. It's good with bad, because I now have clients all over the world that I never would have met.
Right.
However,
Right.
so we'll go deeper on this, and this will crack you up as a communications person, because I just posted this in Facebook because I've had a deal today where I was trying to make an appointment at a spa, right? I was trying to make
Sure.
an appointment for some
Sure.
facial refreshing things, right? We
I
are of
love
the
the
age,
facial refreshing.
right? We are of the age where that's a thing. I've tried for almost 2 weeks to make this appointment. And so the first thing the website said was to text for faster service. So I texted, I had a nice little, hey, I'm interested in this, a nice little
Right.
go back and forth with somebody about what would be the best approach. But when I went to make the appointment, I was saying, well, what about this day? What about this day? And they were responding, no, that's full. No, that's full. So after the third guess, I went, well, what days are available?
Right, exactly.
And and that's when she said, oh, well, we really don't have anything until February. Okay, fine. Like, why wouldn't you have told me that originally? And then I got distracted, because that's me. And then I went back. Oh, I wanted to do this thing. So I went back to the website, and then it said, for faster service, just book your appointment online. So I did that. And then I got a text message that said, Erin, we already discussed there's no appointments available till February. And I literally
Right.
picked the date off the website.
But yeah, exactly.
So going back to this communication situation, I'm 52 years old. My instinct's to pick up the phone. Okay, but
Yeah, yeah.
I went against every instinct I had and texted you and then tried to make an appointment online, none of which worked. And then I was very proud of myself, because usually by then I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
instead of calling up or responding with my initial instinct to the text message that along the lines of, your website let me do
Right,
this, I picked
right.
up the phone, and after a long on hold time, got a hold of a lovely person. It was the same person who was texting me, so I'm very glad I didn't berate what I now realize is probably a child, right?
Right,
From my perspective, they're probably like
right,
18 years old.
right.
I'm glad I didn't follow my first instinct, and they were very nice, and we are now all set for the face rejuvenating appointment. However, for today's topic, there is so much businesses have put in place
Yes.
to avoid communicating.
Yes, agreed. And it's to their detriment.
Oh,
The idea, like the front-facing idea is, "Look how convenient this is. We're gonna make it
yeah,
super
this was not
simple." And
convenient.
right, exactly. The actuality is that it is a barrier to entry. You've put stuff between you and your customer, and you've made it more difficult for your customer. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Like, and the fact, and here's the thing, in this particular case, I'm a highly motivated buyer,
Yeah.
because they have a great reputation. They're right around the corner from me.
Okay,
So
okay.
there was like this convenience. There was a few things in place here. Plus, as a business coach, I was just
Right.
dying to know what the hell they were thinking.
Right, right, exactly. Let's
Dying
get
to
into
know.
this. Let's figure
But
this out.
can
Yeah,
I please,
exactly.
free coachable moment, can I please just give
Right.
you some feedback on this in the most generous way, not berating
Yeah,
you, but
yeah,
if
yes.
the number one thing people say to come to me for is to grow their business. And to your approach, the number one way to not grow your business is to remove or be bad at communication.
100%. There's been study after study after study. LinkedIn does a lot of studies about what do employers want, like what skill sets, and as we turn, past 2020, what are the skill sets that employers are looking for? What are the skill sets that entrepreneurs need to have? And invariably and unfailingly, communication is in the top 5. You have to be able to state your ideas clearly and succinctly.
Yeah.
You have to be able to connect and engage. You must. And, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I mean, she's a digital native, and maybe you and I are not, but she's a digital native. And holy crap, man, holy shit. Like can I say that? Holy shit. Like it's a different animal. It's a different animal. Like she has difficulty.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm a big proponent of not bombarding younger generations with the things that they're doing differently than we, I mean, that's just evolution, right?
Sure.
That being said, I think the unfortunate side is of the changes in our culture are taking away core characteristics that are necessary for success. You have a better way to do it. I text. Here's the thing. My father is going to be 80 years old in June. We text more than we talk.
Right.
Every day we're texting. So I have zero problems with that. Like, I'm all for that. But in the moment of need, in the moment of problem solving, in the moment of emergencies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when you need to be able to grow your business. And think of it this way. In a world that's increasingly bad at communicating, how easy is it going to be for you to grow your business when you stand out because you can link words together?
Exactly.
Like that's where we're setting the bar.
There's what you just said. Like, so my daughter and I were texting last night, and how frequently does this happen? We were texting, and it was unclear because text is black and white. There are no gray areas, and human beings are nothing but gray areas. And so she finally was like, she called me and she said, you know what, I have to call you because it's just going to be so much easier. And I said, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Texting is terrific. And now, we have with the advent of emojis, we can put some emotion and some context, but it's still very flat and two-dimensional and certainly does not capture the richness of interpersonal communication. It just cannot. And even with the phone, we get the voice, we get the inflection, but we don't get the face. And with, online, we get the face, we get the voice, we get inflection, but we don't get the body. And the body tells us so much too about how comfortable people are with ideas, how they feel about ideas, all of that. And so human beings were designed to communicate together, face to face, in the same space. And, a few thousand years of evolution and
we're back to hieroglyphics. Right? We're back to hieroglyphics.
Right, exactly. Like human beings have not caught up to the technology we've created.
Love what you're learning here and interested in more? Check out conqueryourbusiness.com to get immediate access to all sorts of additional resources and stay updated on our upcoming training events. So how does an actor turn into an entrepreneur teaching communication? I'm sure it was instantaneous and smooth as silk, right?
Yeah, sure it was. Yeah, sure. So that's a really long story, but I'm going to give you the abridged and abbreviated. So working in New York as an actor, you have, a couple of choices for those times when you're not working and do want to eat. Right. So, you can wait tables, which is
Yeah.
sort of the classic. But when I was in New York working, there was also working in temp agencies, working in,
Do they
third
still have
shifts.
those? Because when I first graduated college, I signed up with a temp agent. I guess it's like
Yeah.
Upwork or Fiverr now. I did that as
Yeah,
well.
right. Exactly. Exactly. But law firms, produce a lot of paper, and they need, people who can word process and who can handle the terms and whatever, can understand. And so that's where I went. So I've never waited a table. But that's what I started doing. And from there, believe it or not, I learned the documents, and I was able to actively participate in the real estate departments of certain law firms. And so moved on from there to mortgages and banking and intellectual property, all the while I was still auditioning. So, I certainly had a lot of great people supporting me. And then at one point I chucked it all and went to Mexico to teach scuba diving,
Oh, that's
as one
awesome.
does. Yeah, as one does, right? Um, and then when I came back, and gosh, I started working again, and I was auditioning again. And then, what happened was my dad died, and then 9/11 happened. And so it was time for a big life change. And so I ended up moving to upstate New York, which is where I'm originally from. And got involved with local community theaters, served on the boards there. And at one point, someone approached me about doing, as part of a day long workshop with schools, someone approached me about doing a workshop, and the way that they said it was so funny. It was so amorphous. They were like, well, could you teach the students stagecraft, what the stage is and how it is, but also like, public speaking. It's like, well, they're two different things, really. But I was able to, morph this workshop together, and it was successful. And so a couple of other schools tapped me to do, to help them with workshops, not only for the students, but with the staff. And so it became this coagulated being on the stage and talking about communication from the stage standpoint. So that was really fun. When we moved to South Carolina, I knew that I had a big, I was on a precipice. Do I continue working for the bank that I had been working for and making money, or do I not, and do something different that really suits my soul and makes a difference? And so that's what I chose to do. So I stopped working at the bank, and I, put the shingle out for my business, and with no money, no entrepreneurial experience whatsoever, like,
Talk
okay,
about
I'm
jumping
here.
off the cliff.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No parachute, no nothing. But you don't know what you don't know. And that's
I
kind of
say that a
probably
lot.
what.
I say I'm very glad when I left my corporate amazing job to become an entrepreneur. I'm very glad that I didn't know what I didn't
Oh my
know,
gosh.
because if I
Yeah.
knew, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
Yet,
exactly.
it's the best thing I've
Exactly.
ever done.
Right. Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I didn't know what I didn't know. But we were new. So I'm in Charleston, and we were fairly new to Charleston. And I was using Groupon to get to know Charleston, on the cheap. And I saw that they had events. And so I reached out to Groupon and was able to put my one workshop on Groupon. And, I leveraged their mailing list, which
Yeah.
was, hundreds of thousands of people. Um, and that's how I started my business. And I literally still know many of the people who came to that first workshop, and, they work for companies who have subsequently hired me. And so, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I love it because most of us don't have linear lives. I don't know that most
Oh
of
my
us moved
gosh. Yeah,
from working in a law firm in New
exactly.
York to teaching scuba diving, but, it might not be quite unlinear as yours. But it's this idea of saying yes to trusting ourselves, saying yes to
Yeah.
opportunity, and what do you know and are good at that can serve others?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
And
I think that's a great point. I knew that it was, I could have stayed with the bank. They were urging me to, kind of re-up my contract and work at a distance. And I could have done that and made, continued making money, or, I jumped off the cliff and became a poor, destitute entrepreneur,
Yeah,
because
that's very familiar with that.
nobody was throwing money at me in the beginning. Nobody was throwing money at me, and while Groupon was great, it certainly got my name out. You're not going to make money on Groupon. You're just not.
Right. It's awareness. Absolutely. But
Right.
it got you. Well,
Exactly.
I had a dissimilar. I started my business with a free offer in a Facebook group.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Not terribly
Yeah.
dissimilar. Wasn't going to make money from
Mhm.
it. 3 of those 5 people stayed on as paying clients, and there we go. Right. And
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
couples and rainbows
Yeah.
and unicorns since then. No.
Yeah.
No. That's
No.
That's so much. So in that vein, one of the favorite things for me to do is, hey, if you just don't do what I did, you're already ahead of the game. So how could we lessen someone's learning curve? What's something that you're like, I already tried this, it doesn't work? Like, seriously. I think we've made it clear without saying it that a
Yeah.
lack of communication skills is a business killer.
Sure.
What else is a business killer that we can warn
So
people
I'll tell you,
about?
one of the things that, and it was a hard left for me in my business, was I haven't, I have learned from a lot of people, up close and at a distance. And one of the people that I learned from, a mentor, sat me down at lunch one day, and he said to me, I know that you use the word theater a lot in your website, in your branding and whatever. And he said, I'm concerned for you with that. He said, I would see that, as a business owner, and I would not hire you because of that. And I sat back and I was like, holy shit. Am I being too niche? Like I respected him, and I felt like he knew more than I did. And so for the next year, I disappeared the theater. I mean, it was, it's in me, but I disappeared it from my business. And gosh, like I said, it was like a year later that I finally realized, and I read Seth Godin's Purple Cow book. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it was life-changing. And I realized that the thing that set me apart, the thing that continues to set me apart in the marketplace, is the way that I approach training. Like, there are a gajillion communication trainers out there, and they're all fantastic. Nobody does what I do in the way that I do it. And it's because I'm rooted in theater. And so I went back and I embraced that. And so that would be my advice. Understand the thing that makes you unique in the market and dive into it. That's your thing.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It sounds easy. We know it's hard, especially when people who we respect are giving us alternative advice.
Yes.
And it's, learning how to trust yourself above and beyond. Because there's a big difference between tactical information that you don't yet know and input into who you are. Those are two different, like, I don't know how to program my CRM to do the automation that I know would be helpful. That's just tactical info, right? We go find out how to do it.
Right. Exactly. But you're not talking about the soul. Yeah.
Not going against who you know to be, knowing that that's actually your superpower.
Exactly.
And not a death. And the other thing that you're describing, and the way it was described to me, is we all have the same solution. Like, we really do. There's so many people doing this, so many things. The way you stand out is showing that you have a different understanding of the problem. And your approach is a different understanding of the problem.
Exactly. And while that's not for everyone, that's okay.
Right.
Because,
exactly.
You know what? I'm not supposed to be for everyone. And I think that as a baby entrepreneur, excuse me, I think that we have to grab at everything and everyone. Like, we have to be, we have to sell to everybody. And so if 10 years ago someone said to me, who is your ideal client? Who's your customer?
Oh, I have everybody.
Right, exactly. Everybody needs communication skills. Well, yes, however, and that really just points to a lack of understanding of how business works. You have to understand what you're good at and where your niche is, and you have to live in that, because the people who want you will find you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So great softball. So for the people who want to go find you, I highly recommend,
there you go.
highly recommend that they reach out and find you and want to learn more, especially around communication, which is just,
it's everything.
So on the same page of how important it is. What's the best way for them to find you?
So they could certainly check out the website. Our website is www.practicaldramatics.com. They can shoot us an email, info@practicaldramatics. I'm on Insta and LinkedIn and what have you. So yeah, all the places you can reach out.
Nobody's hiding.
Give us a tickle.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your subject matter as well as your awesome story, because I love people who have as winding a path as I seem to have had. I always find that amazing. So thank you so much. It was great chatting.
You're so welcome. Thank you for a great conversation. I appreciate it.